Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully another fun and exciting video here at Blue Glow Electronics. It's about 5 a.m. in the morning one day before I head to work, and I thought I'd make a quick video. Got a pair of Dynaco Mark IIIs here, and a customer had sent these in a while back. And while I'm waiting on the parts for the AR-SP3, I thought I would go ahead and get started on the breakdown and build of what I needed to order for these units. So as you can see here, these units may have seen better days, but I thought I'd just do a walkthrough of them, talk a little bit about the parts I'm going to order, and go from there. So first off, this unit here came, transformers are out of it, and they're actually sitting over here. And I've not gone through yet and tested them, but the customer that sent them to me told me they were sure that the transformers were good. Transformers certainly need some sanding down and some painting of the end bells. They've got some rust on them, as you can see. But the good news is they're all here, and the cloth wiring's not too brittle, so I don't see any major breaks. As a lot of times you have to check transformer wires as they go up inside. They'll get breaks in them right here, and then when you run high voltage across them, those little breaks will arc over to the end bells there, so you got to look out for that. So the transformers are there on this one. Certainly the power cord is not. If you can see right here, it is shot and would light you up like a Christmas tree if you tried to use it. As you can see, this chassis has quite a bit of rust, and actually some of the rust would sand off, but I was looking at the sides here. There's just a ton of pitting, so even if you kind of got rid of the rust, you'd still have missing chrome. These things were, it was a nickel plating that they used on these, and over time they've just not held up well. The ST70s are the same way. This unit here, if you notice, significant size in the output capacitors here, so one of these may be factory and one of these may have been replaced later, or it just could be two different vintages of units. The owner of these that sent them in said that his father or something had picked these up at Hamfest years ago. But one thing I was noticing on this one, if you look at it, kind of hard to see here, but this board, I'm trying to get some good light here, this board is cracked all up. You got a major crack line right there, it comes over here and it's kind of broke right there. Similarly, you can see a crack line right here. If I push down on it, you can see the board moves. So that's not a good board, going to have to be replaced. Sometimes, I'll have customers say, hey, I just want to rebuild the old boards. So you take all the components off, kind of scrub them down good, put new components on them, and put it back together. And as you'll notice, these are orange drops in here. It's not what originally came in the Dynaco kit. So someone's done this over time. Later, and likely they've done the same thing with this, replaced this capacitor here at some point in time. But the good news is underneath, you can see lots and lots of pitting here. So if I can get this case off, hang on one second. And you see underneath here, still got the original Dynaco branded capacitors here, definitely need to be replaced. The wiring is kind of puny on these things, and certainly like the terminal strip boards here and whatnot, I need cleaning up. But got the original choke in it, so got the original fuse holder, and got the original selenium rectifier right here in this thing, all of which would need to be replaced. Pretty much what would be left in use would be tube sockets, 3 of those. Like I said, this board, you can see it all down in here is busted all up. Can't use that. So don't know. I'll show you here in a little bit what I'm recommending on this unit. It's interesting. I put together 3 scenarios, a parts list for this thing, and one ranges from replacing the chassis with new stainless chassis, powder coating the covers, etc., all the way up, full rebuild, and that gets a little pricey, but it's something that would last forever. And then it's interesting, you kind of drop down from that to just, hey, I'm going to use the factory boards and stuff it with new parts, new capacitor here, kind of clean things up. And believe it or not, it's not a huge ton of difference price-wise. You know, none of this is a cheap and easy restoration here, just because of what's involved. This one in a little better shape. You know, I could actually reuse this board potentially. You can see this is a green board. Well, this was the old brown phenolic board. This is a newer model actually, and got the original Black Beauty capacitors on this thing. So this one's in a little better shape, but still tons of pitting. Someone's added a an input here to maybe use this thing as a guitar amplifier at some point. You can see the two extra holes. So where this has RCA inputs into it like you'd use for stereo, this one someone's fed in with some phono plugs, 1/4 inch, so like you'd use. And similarly, the power cord and strain relief are busted right here. Good news is it's got the two good transformers on it. See if I can get this one flipped over here and the base off of it. Base is in a little better shape on this one. And then this one here, good choke still in place. You see this one looks a little better underneath, a little more modern. And got the fuse holder in place. Interestingly, it does have a burn-up resistor right here on the input, and I think that might be part of not sure. Definitely going to want to check that output transformer based on seeing that. And like I said, it's not in bad shape. More of this one could be reused, but certainly the selenium rectifier here has to go. The capacitor here has to go. This one here as well. Even though these are more modern than what was in this, they're still the old Elnas. So these things are still from the 1960s. The chassis themselves, two different colors. This was a brown. This was the original color you saw on a lot of these. Got the Dynakit foil sticker on it. But one thing I will show you is that they're bent. You can see them right along in here. Got a pretty good bulge here on this side. And similarly right here, and it's actually broken loose a little bit. So that's going to have to be straightened and this thing's sanded and painted. Or I've got a powder coating shop about a mile from my house where I usually take stuff. If you notice, this one on the other hand is a black color. Does not have the sticker still on it, and it's in pretty good shape. It's got a little rattle to it right here because this mesh is broken loose from this. If I took it to the powder coating shop, I would probably have them put a spot weld on it right here, and they'd probably charge me $5 for that, but it would keep that thing from vibrating and making noise in the future. And then this thing came with, hang on a second, came with some tubes that they sent along. I've tested them at this point in time. Over here, I believe there's some old tongue saws. They're not labeled tongue saws, but they test good, but they're not well balanced. So I got to talk to the customer about that. You know, if they were all matched, be one thing. But anytime you grab old tubes and kind of put them together and they're not matched, you kind of lead yourself down a path of these are push-pull amplifiers, and they kind of rely on two matched pairs. So let's just say two of them tested 60 on the scale here, which was good, and two of them tested about 72. Then you'd be okay, because you could put the 260s in one amplifier and the 272s in the other amplifier. A little less gain in one than the other, but it would balance out. But that's not what I've got going on here. I got one that tested like 68, one that tested 72, one that tested all the way over here at 80, and the other one that was about a 74 or something like 76. In other words, I couldn't make even a matched pair out of it, much less two matched pair. So I'll talk to the customer a little bit about that as well. Yeah, here's the interesting part of this whole scenario. Really, if you look at the pile of metal laying here and parts and components, really the only thing of any true value sitting here right now is the transformers. It's kind of a sad story, but these chassis themselves, if they were didn't have the transformers, just not a ton of value there because of this nickel plating on them, and a lot of people like to replace them with the new stainless ones. So the moral of the story is you're going to find out that the total restoration on these things is not a lot different than buying two new amplifiers, with the exception of the value of the transformers is a little bit of the moral of the story. We're going to go take a look at the spreadsheets I put together, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, what we've got here is a spreadsheet that I've put together. And you can't see the tabs at the bottom right now. It's out of the screen view, but I can shift here. You can see between 4 different tabs on this spreadsheet. And this first tab is basically, I'll walk you through it. It's 2 brand new stainless steel chassis. They're $100 a piece. Everything I'm doing here, I'm just passing along straight at cost. No markup on the parts at all. A SDS Labs Mark III power supply, which I absolutely love. Let me show you both of these things. So this is the stainless steel chassis. And if you look at it here, these things look amazing. Highly would recommend this as part of this restoration. You get 2 new bottom covers and 2 new chassis as part of that. That SDS Labs, this is the power supply board I was just talking about. It basically gets rid of the CAN capacitor and puts in some modern capacitors that are easy to find. So if 10 years down the road you wanted to replace the capacitors in this thing, they're easy to do on this board. Let's see, then up next is the upgraded driver boards, and Triode USA makes these driver boards for the Mark II and III. I like them. I like this one a lot. There's dozens of these boards out there, but and I've used just about all of them. But I really like this one because it uses a 12AU7 on one side, and on the other side you can use a 12AU7 or a 12BH7 or a 6N1P. So it gives you lots of options, as well as on the 12AU7 side you can use 5814s, military versions or whatnot. And this thing's put together, and then you have options on it when you go to buy it, whether you use better capacitors or whatnot. And I usually do the $5 or $10 upgrades on the capacitors. So it's kind of what I did here. I did the power supply board, and I did the upgrade to Solene caps. Did the driver board with the upgrade to Solene caps. You need a bias set for this thing. You need a new power cord. Some of this stuff's just coming out of my inventory. A strain relief, a new fuse holder. You're going to need a 2 terminal ring binding post, basically where you plug your banana jack speaker plugs into. Those are a little bit pricey at $12.50 each, but you just need 1 for each amplifier. Some new RCA input jacks, which would come out of my inventory, and the good old CL80 thermistor to help with some of the modern voltages and to help bring the tubes up a little bit slower. This thing would need 4 12AU7s, which I could pull from my inventory pretty cheap and make a match set at $4 a piece. It's going to need a new 5AR4 GZ34. The customer, when they sent these amps, neither one had the GZ34 in it. So I believe the Tube Amp Doctor TADs are pretty good at $28 each. You could go with some vintage, but old Mullards or Amprex, they're $100 a piece, and I think these hold up just as well. And then I'm recommending a set of new KT88s, basically, and I need to change that to say KT88. Some Tungsol brands, eBay, a set's $160. And I may talk to the customer about what, maybe I could do some kind of trade-in on these other tubes if they were interested. Or we could put the old tubes in there and try them out and see how it sounds and see how it works out. If the distortion numbers are good, maybe stick with that and not and spare this expense. I'll talk to the customer a little bit about that. Just the wiring I do on the inside, I use good Teflon silver-coated wire, as well as the wire I'll run from the inputs into the outputs. I'll use shielded Teflon wire, and that stuff gets expensive. You're up into the couple dollars a foot type thing, so $10 for materials there. I'm getting both cabinets powder coated and that one place spot welded. Run about $23 a piece on those. I was going to do the sanding and painting of the transformers myself at $10 a piece. Because you'll spend way over a half an hour each. That's dirt cheap. Need 2 new labels then, the Dynafoil labels. They're $7.50 a piece, because once you pull that one off to powder coat the chassis, it'll be toast and the other one's missing. The shipping on all these parts, I'll have to order about $22, because those chassis, they stick you for a little bit of shipping on those. And then I had calculated in to do this whole thing here about 9 hours of labor, and I greatly reduced my hourly rate here down to $35. I'll tell you, to build 2 complete sets of these, strip them down, take the chassis apart, send them off, put all this back together, rewire everything, bench test everything, the whole 9 yards, I'll have at least 9 hours. It may be way more than that, but I'll cap it off at that. And $315 for doing all that is a pretty good deal in my opinion. But you can see here, whoa, we're at $1,250 all of a sudden on this whole setup for option 1. I would consider this kind of a premium setup. This is building an amazing set of amplifiers that would last for years and years to come. But, customer may or may not want to throw that much into them. We'll just have to see. Let's jump to another tab. Okay, on this next tab, slightly different. What I've done differently this time, though, is I've not put in that capacitor board. I basically had to replace the CAN capacitor. So it's not a huge difference because that board's like, I think it was $90 or so, and you're still looking at $70 just for a modern day CAN capacitor for this thing, and you're going to need 2 of them. So pretty much everything else stayed the same. This is just not using the capacitor board and parts here, and I need to change that line item right there. You can see a little bit of difference here. Then if we jump over to the next tab, this is where I start to drop down a little more. This is where I do not put in new boards. Instead, I'm using this Resto kit, and I'll show you what it comes in at. These C-Tech Electronics store, which oddly enough are in Jamestown, North Carolina. They're only like 40 minutes from me, but yet I've never met these guys. They sell a kit here. It comes with the capacitor, the 6A and 8, comes with all the parts here to kind of stuff the boards again. And then you've got new output tubes, the Gold Line. These are basically the same things as I was recommending putting it. So you're getting the mass majority of everything you need here. The only problem with this layout, this is not really a valid option anymore because one of those boards is busted up and I can't restuff it. So I'm going to have to buy a new board either way I go. And if you'll notice here, going this route, you drop $60 off the whole thing. The real money is up here in kind of the tubes and the chassis and the boards, etc. And then the last option I've got here, if we jump over to tab 4, you kind of get into a route where, hey, we're just going to kind of do the Resto kit, which doesn't really play out well because I got to buy a new board anyway. But what I had really got into here was leaving the chassis in place. So there's a couple problems with that. They're pitted. One of them's got multiple holes in it for, guitar amplifier style plugins. But I had put in some time here for basically steel wooling down those two chassis and just trying to clean them up the best I could. But even with that, with the kind of the tubes, the capacitors, the parts you need to rebuild the boards with, etc., these binding posts, the labor involved, you're still at $924. So that's what I was mentioning earlier. The value in what's laying there on the bench is really in the transformers, and even from the lowest end restoration possible that I can imagine, all the way up to the high end premium restoration that would make for an amazing unit. Honestly, you're looking at $250, $60 total difference. So if they were mine, I would go down this path. But let me show you one more thing. Okay, one thing I always try to be is transparent and honest with my customers, because I think that's what keeps people coming back to you, is when you're kind of above board on everything. So first off, you can obtain a kit here from DynaKitParts.com, and I've ordered from them many times in the past. You can get an entire amplifier for $575 as a kit. And this is what you get in the kit: the new stainless chassis, the boards, the choke, capacitor, etc. I will tell you a couple things here. One, these are reproduction transformers, likely not the same quality as the old vintage transformers, but I put kits like this together and they sound great. You're getting all new tube sockets, you're getting capacitors, everything here. I will say you're getting the old style driver board. So this is factory style, and you can see these are just yellow poly caps, so nothing high end here. It's using an original CAN capacitor, not original, but a new CAN capacitor versus maybe the upgraded SDS board that I was showing you earlier. You don't have an upgraded circuit here using two tubes like the 12AU7 and 12BH7 or 12AU7. And the tubes that are in it are JJs, which are nothing great there. So if you took this 575 and then said, hey, I'm going to upgrade it some to be more comparative to what I had in the premium kit I was showing earlier, you'd have to add another $300 to this or so, $200 or $300. So then you're all of a sudden up into the $700, $800 each range. And you could go down another path here. The guys at tubesforhifi.com, they sell a kit here you can see without tubes for $575. And interestingly enough, that looks like the same picture. Or you can get it with the tubes, and they're putting in Sovtek tubes. You're at $700 a piece. What's not included in this, keep in mind, what is not included is the labor to put all this together. You still got, I'm guessing, a good 6 or 7 hours worth of labor if you're paying somebody to do that. And if you'll notice here, they'll tell you without tubes, it's about $1,560 per pair. With labor of putting it together. Or if you want one built with the tubes all together, you're at $1,800. So nice, all new all around. Over here, if you come back to the premium one, pretty much new all the way around. The only thing I would need to do to make this completely new all the way around would be to throw in 3 new tube sockets at probably $4 or $5 a piece. So instead of $1,250, you're at $1,260. So at that point, you're comparing this for $1,260 to this, right, at $1,800. But think about what else you're getting. You're not getting Sovtek tubes. You're getting some decent new tubes. 2, you're getting upgraded driver board here with the 2 tube complement setup, which, by the way, sounds amazing. I've built a few of them. 3, you're getting the upgraded SDS board here. 4, you're using the original Dynaco transformers, which are in my opinion, would be somewhat superior to these. 5, you're getting the upgraded boards here for the output terminals instead of the little screws. You're getting the RCA jack, and you're using some good capacitors, Solene capacitors throughout this thing versus what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing to be fairly generic, low-end stuff. And instead of this just black wiring like you kind of saw on the first amplifier, I'm using silver-coated Teflon wire and shielded braided wire throughout this thing. So I think, you're coming in, $600, $500 and some dollars less than this. You're still getting the brand new chassis. You're having some nice-looking transformers. And you're getting major upgrades all the way around with some brand new tubes in this thing. And if I could work out maybe a trade on those older tubes with the seller, maybe knock some more off of this. So I don't know. I'm going to have the customer watch this video. I'm going to shoot them a long email today, and hopefully this will help them make some decisions on how we move forward with this thing. So thanks for everybody for watching part 1. We'll see which path the customer decides to go down, or maybe even the cheapest of cheap options more than they're wanting to put in them. Honestly, if that's the route, I'll show you what they could do. So one option they could take, and I've got it just laid up here. I pulled up eBay. I pulled up Dynaco Mark III. I clicked on sold listings, and you can see here this is just an old vintage amplifier pair. Beat up chassis, got the original factory transformers, and you can see no tubes, and a set of these brought $495. You can set here another set that's maybe a previous resto but kind of mucked up, $368. Here's just a single one in good condition, $360. Here was a nice set of vintage ones sold for $860. Here's another beat up chassis pair or whatnot, went for $341. varying prices you're seeing here. You're seeing some that have been restored, but maybe not with new chassis or whatnot. 685. So my point is, the customer, if they didn't want to go down this path and they just wanted to get cash out of the deal, somewhere probably between this 350 and 400 and some dollar range, they could pick up a new set. They could sell these off and kind of cut their losses if they weren't willing to put the $900+ in the resto. So it's kind of the two options they've got at this point. Cut their losses and recoup some money out of the parts here, or like I said, maybe sink the money into them and have something to last the rest of their lifetime. These Dynaco Mark IIIs, and I may show you this. I've got a pair of them. I don't think I've ever shown them online. That I restored years ago, and I did kind of a custom restoration on them. I'll show them in part 3 or 4 whenever I get into building the amplifier. Maybe we'll do a comparison, but I've got a pair that I absolutely love, and they are some of the most aggressive amplifiers for rock and roll music that I've ever heard in my life. So they've got plenty of power there. You throw on a really good rock album with lots of bass, guitar riffs, etc., and these things keep up all day long. They really do a good job. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it here at the end of part 1 here. My hope is the customer goes down this path, because this is just an amazing set of amplifiers when you get done. And we'll see how it goes. But I'll stay tuned, and hopefully there'll be a part 2. If not, I'll come back and at least give an explanation on what we decided or not decided to do. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay tuned for more fun videos. Hopefully I'll get the ARC SP3 wrapped up this weekend. I almost have it done. Just waiting on just a couple more parts that I needed to order. And we'll have that video posted, part 2 of that. See you later, everyone.